guys, it's Keegan. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are going to be talking about how to find the right sorority for you. I did a video recently where I talked about some sorority recruitment advice for virtual recruitment. Because of COVID-19, everything happening, it's going to be a little bit different. That video is full of a ton of tips. I haven't seen any of those tips on YouTube yet. Go check it out if you guys are planning on rushing this year during COVID, during quarantine, during all this craziness. If you guys are like, I don't know how it's going to change, I don't know what sorority recruitment is going to look like, go check out that video. I can also do like a part 2 of it if you want me to do a part 2 of that video. But I asked you in that video if you guys wanted me to do a video talking about how to find the right sorority for you. Picking a sorority is not like a life pivoting moment where you're like, my whole life has changed. It's not that big of a deal, but it is a decision that you make after a week of talking to a few girls, and it's a decision that you like choose it and you can't really like back out of it. You can obviously drop it. You can't be like, never mind, I wanted to choose that sorority instead. Like, it doesn't really work like that. If you change your mind and you're like, I should have picked the other sorority, you have to go through recruitment all over again next year. It's a big decision which sorority you want because it will like impact your college sorority life. And I feel like there's a lot of videos on YouTube talking about how to make a sorority like you, how to get into a top house, how to do this, how to do that. But there's not a lot of videos kind of talking about how do I know if I really like this sorority? How do I know if my gut is telling me the right thing? How do I know if what these girls are telling me is true? If you guys are not subscribed, subscribe, I guess. I have a ton of like college videos coming up that I'm so excited for. I'll be making more sorority videos. If you guys need more advice, I can do like Q&As, I can do outfits videos, I can do this, you know, like I can do a ton of videos if you want, so just like let me know. If you're not following me on Instagram too, definitely go follow me. I've been answering a ton of your guys' DMs. I've been getting a ton of questions in my DMs from you guys about like recruitment and stuff, so follow me. Haha. Shameless self promo, woo! Let's just like stop with the shameless self promo and get started with my tips. That'll be cute. The first thing that I would really recommend you doing before you even start recruitment is ask yourself, why are you rushing and what do you want from it? This is a question that they'll actually ask you in recruitment quite a ton, so it's one that's really good to know. For me, what I always said was like, I really wanted that sisterhood. I really want those friendships. I want to meet women that will be my bridesmaids one day. I go to Arizona State University, if you guys didn't know. I went to ASU really not knowing anyone. I'm an in-state student, but like pretty much all of my friends from high school did not go to ASU. I knew a few people that went, but they weren't people like I ever was close to, so I kind of felt like I was going to college not knowing anyone really, and I wanted those friendships like I had in high school. That's what I always told them. That's a really good thing to understand why you're doing it. Not every single person wants the same thing that I want. Some people, they might want the networking, they might want the leadership to put on their resume, they might really want to be in a sorority for the philanthropy. Realizing what you want out of a sorority is good, because when you're in one, you could be distracted by the glitz and the glamour of it all, but if you're like, this is really what I want, that's a good thing to keep in your mind. I also recommend writing down a list of everything that you want out of a sorority, in a sorority, like the qualities that you want, that you don't want, and narrowing it down to like your top 3. I really recommend writing down everything that you want, and when you're choosing which house you want, being like, is this what I want? Are these things that I wanted? Does this house have? This is a tip that you hear a ton, but I recommend writing notes after you talk to every single house. I recommend writing down who you talked to, if you can remember their name or what they looked like, what you talked about. But I also really recommend writing down how you feel. When you leave the house, how did it make you feel? Did you feel like you really needed to impress the girls? Did you feel like you needed to like hype yourself up? Did you feel like they were hyping you up? Did you feel really good about yourself? Did you feel like you could just fit in and the conversation flowed? Or did you feel like they were leading the conversation, you were leading the conversation? Did you feel insecure? Did you feel like you were comparing yourself to these girls? Also, by the way, this is not me trying to bash any house. This is just like me talking from my personal experience. I do remember though being in houses, and I remember looking around their room and I just kind of felt like I didn't know if I fit in. And obviously during virtual recruitment, you're not going to be able to scan the room and look at all these girls. I do want this video to be helpful during a pandemic and after a pandemic, so just like, but I do remember looking around there and being like, wow, like I don't know if I fit in here, like I don't know if I'm like pretty enough, or I don't know if I'm skinny enough, or I don't like, that is not the kind of feeling that you want in a house. You want to go into a house and feel like you already fit in. You want to go and feel like you already are a sister. That is the kind of feeling that you want to feel like warm and fuzzy on the inside. If you feel like you're trying really hard to impress these girls, or if you feel like you're comparing yourself to girls in the house, that's a sign. I've been through recruitment and I've recruited before. I'm going to my junior year, so my sophomore year, I recruited for my house. The way that I would just know that I had a connection with the girl is when her posture went from this to this. Like when you can see someone relax in front of you, that's how you know that you have a genuine connection. And don't get me wrong, every single girl I talked to, I didn't have a genuine connection with. I'm not going to connect with every single person ever. That's just not life, you know? You don't want to be in a house for 4 years where you're constantly comparing yourself to people and needing to impress them. Also, another thing, this may be like bad to say, I don't know. Did you want to leave when you were talking to the girls? Like, did you want the conversation to end? I remember being in so many houses and just being like, when is this going to end? Sometimes having conversations with new people can be be awkward. There's certain people I click with, we have a great conversation, and there's other people I don't, and maybe those people I don't have great conversations with other girls, but her and I just weren't clicking. If I was in a house and the time flew by and I never once thought about leaving, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I could still be talking to these girls for longer, that is a great sign. I remember being in sisterhood round in my house, and I remember most houses I was like, get me out of here, because sisterhood round is pretty long, and I remember being in my house and being like, wait, like I want to stay. I recommend taking a step back and being like, can I be friends with these girls? Do I see myself being friends with them? If you're in the house, there's odds this girl could be your big, she could be your friend. I think that if you're talking to a senior and you're a freshman, odds are you probably aren't gonna be like best friends once you join the house. They're a lot older, they're at a different stage in their college career than you are. But if you could see yourself being friends with these girls outside of recruitment, going to coffee with them, hanging out on a Saturday night, if you could see yourself doing that, that's a good sign. If you can't, probably a sign as well. The next thing is, did they lie to you? Sororities are not this like picture perfect image that everyone thinks that there's like, they're so amazing. Like, you know, stuff happens. Greek block party my freshman year, and I was with a girl and she asked a certain sorority, is there drama in the house? And I remember these two girls that were active in the sorority like hesitated, and they like looked at each other and they were like, no. There's no drama. A freaking lie. If someone says that, it's a lie. Let's just be real here. It's a group of 250 women. You're not gonna like every single one of them. In my house, there's people that I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm gonna be the first one to admit it. And there's people in my house that are probably not the biggest fan of me, because you're not gonna like every single person in life. And that doesn't mean that there's like this like crazy drama going on, but you may not be best friends with someone. You may have like a little falling out with a friend, and that happens. That's in a sorority. That's just life. Are they best friends with every single girl in the house? Probably not. There's 250 people in the house. It's impossible to be best friends with every single one. It takes you like a whole year to meet everyone in the house. At the end of the day, it's common sense. If there's a group of 250 women, and it's common sense that there's probably gonna be a little bit of drama between some people, just keep in mind, if they say something to you and it just doesn't feel real, they're probably just lying to you and trying to make themselves seem good. Just being real here. This is something that I feel like happens to a lot of girls, and they end up choosing a house that they're not very happy with. Do you like every single girl in the house, or do you just like one? This one I think is really important, and I think that you should pay attention to this. I remember being in a house and I absolutely adored this one girl. I loved her to death. I talked to her every single round. I was obsessed with her. But then when she would leave and I talked to other girls, I didn't feel the same way. They were great, but they weren't girls that I felt like I would become best friends with or even like really close friends with. But I did love this one girl. And then in another house, I liked everyone that I talked to. I didn't have such a super strong connection with one person, but every person I talked to, I felt like I would be their friend. I feel like I would be really close with them. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people do, is they choose the house because they love the person, but they don't love everyone else in the house. You have to love everyone in the house. If maybe there was like one or two girls that you didn't like, that's totally fine. A big percentage of the girls you should really like, and you should want to be their friends. My little Nicole, love her to death. Her and I had like the best connection during recruitment. I talked to her 3 out of 4 of the rounds, and we just like vibed. We just loved each other. But she didn't just love me in the house, she also loved the other girls that she talked to. So that's something that you can love a person, but you just need to take a step back and think, did I like the other girls too? Is it just that one girl? Because I feel like a lot of people choose a house that they're not very happy with because they loved one person, and that one person, you and them might not be super close after you get your bid. They might be older, very unactive in the sorority, but they did recruitment. They could be your big, they could not be. Take a step back and evaluate all the conversations that you had and how did you feel for all of them. I also recommend, when you're in lines for houses, talking to the girls during virtual recruitment. You can't really do this because you're not in person, but when you're in person, it's like, let's say you're watching this video in 2021 when hopefully COVID is over. Please be over in 2021, and please, are you liking the girls that they're calling back? By sisterhood round, by pref round, these girls could be your pledge class sisters or your new member class sisters or whatever you want to call it. They'll be in your PC, they'll be your friends. They're girls that you're like, I don't really like these girls, they're not really my vibe. These are the kind of girls they're asking back, and these are the kind of girls that will be your friend. You don't have to vibe with all of them. For virtual recruitment, I recommend talking to girls in your RoGam group who have been asked back to the same houses. I don't know how RoGam groups are gonna work for virtual recruitment. I'm hoping there'll be like group chats or something, and maybe you can make a couple close friends and be like, oh, you were asked back to Alpha Chi, so was I. Do I like you? You know, kind of thing like that. But don't base it off like a few girls that get called back because they could get dropped or they might choose another house. This might be a little bit different for virtual recruitment, but I remember in in-person recruitment, you'll be talking to a girl and someone that talked to you previously in a round before will come up to you and be like, hi, like I wanted to like say hi, I remember you, blah, 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 blah. That's a really good sign if you ask me. I would say, do they remember you? Do they remember things about you? If you're a teaching major, do they remember that? Maybe sometimes in virtual recruitment, you'll talk to the same girl multiple times. You're in recruitment, even if you're in virtual recruitment and there's 2 actives talking to you, what normally happens is you'll talk to a girl in the sorority, another girl will come up, you'll like chit chat for a few seconds, and then the original girl will leave and the new girl will talk to you just one-on-one. When like the three of you guys are like chit-chatting, did the original girl that was talking to you, did she remember things about you? Did she say, oh, she's a teaching major? I remember one girl in my sorority was saying that there's people that kept getting their major wrong, and you're like, you weren't listening when I was talking. Great. I'm not like a name person. I'm not like a bye Susan, so nice to meet you. I don't say names when I talk to people. I say like girl, I don't know. They don't. That's not a bad sign because they could be like me and just not say names. If they're updating like the new active on the conversation and it's completely off, I think that's a sign that she was not paying attention to what you were saying, and that's something that you should probably know in the back of your head, that like they didn't care enough about you to listen to you. A lot of houses will be like, we really want you in our house. Like, I see you in my house. We want you here. We all love you. Do you think they mean it? And this is not like a me being like, they're lying to you. No, they probably do mean it. I feel like your gut tells you if they mean it or not. I remember being in a house and this girl was saying like, every single person here loves you so much. Like, we all talk about how much we love you. And I remember being like, that does not feel real. That feels fake to me. And I remember being in another house and being like, I see you in this house. Like, I see you being friends with my friends. And I remember being like, I felt that. Like, I genuinely felt like she meant that. Versus the other house, I just didn't feel like they meant it. And sometimes it's like hard to detect, but I feel like your gut will tell you if they mean it or not, and follow that feeling. Sometimes you're like, do they mean it? Do they say that to everyone? I think it depends on the way that they say it and the way that it made you feel when they say it. Another thing that I recommend thinking about is, if you love these girls, do you think that they'll be your friends if you join another house? I don't think that you should go a house just to maintain friends with someone. You can still be friends with someone if you're in another house. If they're a pie and you're an 80 pie, like, you guys can still be friends. There's no strict like you can only be friends with people in your house rule. If they're only going to be friends if you're in their house, is that a true friendship? I don't know. My last tip, I've talked about this quite a bit throughout the video. Go with your gut. If your gut is telling you to go one house, go that house. In the back of your mind, you always know which house you really, really want. Go through your notes, go through your conversations, analyze everything. Go to your row games, ask someone for advice. I remember I had to do that because I didn't know what house I wanted to prep. No matter what sorority you're in, they're kind of all similar, so it's not that big of a deal. But I hope that you guys found this video super helpful. I hope that sorority recruitment goes really well for you, and I hope that it's fun virtual. I don't know. It's gonna be a time, but I love you guys so much. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe. If you're not following me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to post a lot of fun stuff. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video.